Alright, I'm going to read some of this book called Comer para no morir. So let's go back and look at what the cover of the book looks like. Comer para no morir. Written by Michael Gregor of nutritionfacts.org. So, yeah, let's read this. Prólogo. Todo empezó con mi abuela. Aún era un niño cuando los médicos la enviaron a casa sentada en una silla de ruedas para que muriera. Alright, so I'm going to try and go and translate a little bit. Okay. So, todo empezó con mi abuela. Everything started with my grandmother. Aún era un niño cuando los médicos la enviaron. I was still a boy. I was still a child when the doctors sent her a casa sentada en una silla de ruedas, seated in a wheelchair, para que muriera. Basically, sent her home to die. Le habían diagnosticado. So they had, or let me think about this. Le habían diagnosticado una enfermedad coronaria. Okay, so they diagnosed her, or she was diagnosed. They diagnosed her with heart disease, basically, in fase terminal, terminal phase. I'm not really sure what the English version of that would be, of that little term right there, fase terminal. Y ya le habían hecho tantas cirugías de bypass. And they had done so many bypass surgeries, que básicamente los cirujanos se habían quedado sin espacios en que operar. So she had so many bypass surgeries that basically they ran out of room to operate. Las cicatrices de las sucesivas operaciones a corazón abierto habían ido dificultando cada vez más las siguientes. Alright, so, right. I'm going to read that one more time, but basically saying that, the scars from successive surgeries were accumulating and making it harder each time to do the operation. So, let's take another look at that. It's kind of a mouthful. Los cirujanos se habían quedado sin espacio en que operar. Las cicatrices, so cicatrices means scars, and I only remember this from a previous read through. De las sucesivas operaciones a corazón abierto, so open heart surgery, habían ido dificultando, had been getting more difficult, cada vez más las siguientes. So yeah, getting more difficult each following time. So, okay. Hasta que las opciones acabaron por agotarse. Now, agotar, I don't really remember what that means. So, let's look it up. First switch to Spanish keyboard, agotar. Oh, okay. got you. Agotar. So basically saying, opciones acabaron por agotarse. Basically, all the options were exhausted. Los médicos dijeron que no podían hacer nada más por ella y la dejaron confinada en una silla de ruedas y con un dolor terrible en el pecho. Okay, so the doctors said that they couldn't do anything more for her, and they left her confined to a wheelchair and with terrible pain in her chest. Su vida había terminado a los 65 años de edad. Her life had basically ended at 75 years old. Creo que muchos niños deciden que de mayores quieren ser médicos cuando ven a un ser querido caer enfermo o incluso morir. Alright, so creo que muchos niños deciden que that little there right there is de mayores is kind of confusing me. But I think it means so creo que muchos niños, I think a lot of children decide more mostly to be doctors when they see a loved one get sick or even die. So that de mayores means, I'm gonna guess it means something like mostly, or most of the time, or most commonly, that sort of thing. Most commonly decide to be doctors when X or XYZ thing happens. Sin embargo, en mi caso, lo decidí cuando vi que mi abuela mejoraba. Okay, I see. So, sin embargo, nevertheless, or in this case, sort of feels like, however, in my case, lo decidí, I decided, or I made that decision when I saw my grandma get better. So basically he's drawing a distinction. When other kids make that kind of decision, it's because they seen a loved one die. But in my case, it was when I seen my grandma get better. Poco después de que en el hospital le dieran el alta para que pasara sus últimos días en casa, emitieron por televisión un 60 Minutes sobre Nathan Pritikin, un pionero de la medicina del estilo de vida que se había labrado la reputación de ser capaz de hacer retroceder la enfermedad coronaria terminal. Okay, jeez, what a mouthful. Okay. So, poco después, like a little bit after that, de que en el hospital le dieran el alta, para que pasara sus últimos días. I'm not really sure what that alta means. Dar, what does it say? Dar el alta. Okay. Dar el alta. Okay, that's a good phrase to know, because you wouldn't, I didn't know that meant that. Okay, so discharge, or like basically send you away from the hospital. Alright, so poco después de que en el hospital le dieran el alta. So a little bit after she was discharged from the hospital. To live out her last days or whatever at home. Emitieron por televisión, un 60 minutes. So basically, he saw an episode of 60 Minutes about this guy Nathan Pritikin, a pioneer of lifestyle medicine, que se habría labrado, labrado. This is my process. Labrado. Just look stuff up. Okay. Where was I? Que se había labrado la reputación. I'm guessing this means who would, this guy Nathan Pritikin, a pioneer of lifestyle medicine, who would basically carve out a reputation for being able to reverse heart disease, terminal, like deadly, or basically it was so bad that it would kill you. Acababa de inaugurar un centro en California y mi abuela, desesperada, consiguió de algún modo cruzar el país para convertirse en una de sus primeras pacientes. Alright, so basically, they had just opened up a center in California, and my grandmother, who was, sent home to live her last days, desesperada, desperate, consiguió de algún modo, basically by whatever means necessary, or did whatever it took to cross the country, cruzar el país, cross the country, para convertirse, to become una de sus primeras pacientes, to become one of their first patients. Se trataba de un programa residencial donde los pacientes seguían una dieta basada en alimentos de origen vegetal e iniciaban un programa de ejercicio físico que se intensificaba gradualmente. Alright, so she tried a residential program where the patients followed a diet based in food of plant origin, and they also started physical exercise that intensified gradually. Mi abuela entró en silla de ruedas y salió por su propio pie. Right. So she entered in a wheelchair and left on her own feet. Jamás lo olvidaré. I will never forget it. Incluso apareció en la biografía de Pritikin, which is titled here, Pritikin, the Man Who Healed America's Heart. So, incluso apareció, she even appeared en la biografía, Pritikin's biography. El hombre que curó el corazón de América, donde se describe a mi abuela como una de las personas que estaban al borde de la muerte. Okay, wow. So, right. She even appeared in Pritikin's biography, where se describe, where she is described, where they describe my grandmother as one of the people who was at death's door, basically. That's probably the English equivalent of that phrase. Francis Gregor, del norte de Miami, Florida, llegó a Santa Bárbara en silla de ruedas para asistir a una de las primeras sesiones de Predican. So Francis Gregor from the north of Miami got to Santa Barbara in a wheelchair to attend one of the first Predican sessions. Le habían diagnosticado enfermedad coronaria. She had been diagnosed with heart disease, angina de pecho y claudicación. So angina, but I'm not sure what claudicación is. Let's look that up. Claudicación. Claudicación. What the heck does that mean? Okay, I don't know what that means, but I do know what heart disease and angina are, so that's enough to understand what they're saying, I guess. Su situación era tan mala que caminar le provocaba un dolor intensísimo en el pecho y en las piernas. A las 3 semanas no solo se había levantado de la silla de ruedas, sino que caminaba unos 16 kilómetros diarios. Alright, I'm going to read that again so I can read it a little bit better. But what it means is her situation was so bad that walking caused terribly intense pain in her chest and in her legs. And at 3 weeks, not only was she up out of the wheelchair, but also walking 16 kilómetros diarios, 16 kilometers daily. Wow, that is crazy. Sent home to die and up out of a wheelchair and walking like it ain't nothing. That's crazy. Okay, so this little pattern right here is something that I've noticed a lot, which is no solo, sino. Basically along the lines of not only, but also. Or not just this, or not only this, but blah blah blah. Which in this case is not only was she up out of the wheelchair, but also walking all this, distance and whatnot. Okay, cool. So I think I'm going to leave it at that. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video where we continue with this next párrafo or whatever. So, alright, see you then.